If someone is drowning near you right now, you probably wouldn't notice. No shouting, no splashing, no waving arms. Just a person, quietly slipping under, while everyone around them keeps talking, keeps swimming, keeps looking the other way. This is not how drowning looks in movies. It's how it actually looks in real life, and understanding why could someday let you save a life without even realizing at first that anything was wrong. Start with what your body does the moment it decides you're in trouble in the water. Before panic, before thought, your throat does something on its own. A reflex called laryngospasm slams your vocal cords shut the instant water touches the tissue at the back of your throat. It's not a decision. It's automatic, ancient, faster than conscious thought, and it exists for a good reason. It seals your airway to stop water from reaching your lungs. This same reflex is one of the oldest protective mechanisms in the human body, shared in some form across nearly every air-breathing vertebrate that ever risked drowning. It doesn't care whether you're a strong swimmer or someone who's never learned to swim at all. It fires the same way every time the instant water reaches that specific patch of tissue, regardless of how calm or panicked the mind above it happens to be. But that same reflex comes with a brutal side effect. With your vocal cords clamped shut, you cannot speak. You cannot call out. You cannot scream for help, even if every part of you is trying to. Think about that for a second. The one thing a drowning person needs most, someone's attention, is the exact thing their own body makes impossible to get. In the 1970s, a Coast Guard researcher named Francesco Pia sat down with hours of real rescue footage, actual drowning incidents caught on film, not actors, not reconstructions. What he found upended nearly everything lifeguards had been taught to look for. Real drowning, Pia discovered, follows an almost eerily consistent pattern, one he named the instinctive drowning response. The body goes vertical in the water, not horizontal, not thrashing sideways, just upright, as if standing on invisible ground. The legs stop kicking entirely, because kicking costs energy the body no longer has to spare. Every last bit of effort gets redirected toward one single task, getting the mouth above the surface for half a second of air. The arms, meanwhile, do something almost nobody expects. They don't wave. They press down, laterally, flat against the water's surface, using it like a ladder rung to push the head up for one more breath. It looks, from a distance, almost like someone doing an odd, slow breaststroke. Calm, even. Controlled. It does not look like an emergency. This is the part that should genuinely unsettle you. Pia found that this entire process, from first real trouble to going under for good, usually lasts only 20 to 60 seconds. Not minutes. Under a minute, in most cases, for the struggle to end one way or another. 20 to 60 seconds, remember, is also roughly the length of the ad you skipped before this video started playing. So if a drowning person can't shout, can't wave, and looks almost peaceful while doing it, how does anyone ever notice in time? The uncomfortable answer is that most people don't. Lifeguard training now explicitly warns against expecting the movie version. The desperate cries, the frantic splash, precisely because real victims are often mistaken for people simply playing in the water, treading calmly, having fun. Child drowning less than 30 feet from a lifeguard's stand, in full daylight, surrounded by other swimmers, with nobody reacting until it was almost too late. The real warning signs are smaller, quieter, and far easier to miss. A head tilted back, chin lifted, as if trying to keep a nose barely above a rising tide. Eyes that look glassy or unfocused, not scanning for help, but locked somewhere distant. Hair that's fallen over the forehead and simply stayed there because there's no spare motion left to push it away. A person who's vertical in water where nobody should need to be vertical, not swimming toward anything, not swimming away from anything, just quietly, methodically trying to breathe. There's a second separate reason bystanders miss it, and it has nothing to do with what the drowning person looks like. It has to do with what everyone else around the pool or the beach is doing at the same moment. Researchers studying group behaviour in emergencies have long documented something called diffusion of responsibility. The more people who are technically in a position to notice and help, the less likely any single one of them feels personally responsible for checking. A crowded pool, paradoxically, can be more dangerous than an empty one with a single attentive adult watching, because everyone quietly assumes someone else has already clocked the problem. Combine that effect with a silent, motionless victim who looks, at a glance, like just another person treading water, and you get the exact conditions Pia documented. A child struggling less than 30 feet from a trained lifeguard in full daylight, surrounded by dozens of other swimmers, none of whom raised an alarm until seconds mattered. There's a related, faster mechanism worth knowing about, because it can trigger before the instinctive drowning response ever has a chance to unfold. Sudden immersion in cold water can provoke what researchers call cold shock response, an involuntary gasp reflex the moment cold water hits the skin and chest. If that gasp happens to occur while the head is underwater, water floods straight into the airway before laryngospasm even has time to seal it shut. Unlike the slower 20 to 60 second struggle Pia documented in warmer water, cold shock can incapacitate a strong, experienced swimmer within the first 10 to 15 seconds of entering frigid water, often before anyone watching has even registered that something happened at all. If you're wondering why the body doesn't just override this and swim to safety, the answer lies in exactly where oxygen deprivation attacks first. The brain regions responsible for complex decision-making, for recognizing danger, and planning an escape route are among the most oxygen-hungry tissue in the entire body. As blood oxygen drops, those exact regions go dark first, long before the more primitive, reflexive parts of the brain stop functioning. You lose the ability to strategize before you lose the ability to struggle, which is precisely why the struggle that remains looks so uniform, so instinctive, so disconnected from any conscious plan. There's a strange window inside all of this worth understanding. Before true drowning ever begins, there's an earlier stage researchers call aquatic distress. In this phase, a person absolutely can call out, wave, and reach for a float or a rope. They can be coached, verbally, from the shore, to kick, to relax, to swim towards you. This window is where nearly all successful open water rescues actually happen, but it closes fast. Left unaided, aquatic distress slides directly into the silent, vertical, 20 to 60 second instinctive drowning response, and once that begins, coaching from a distance stops working entirely. The person can no longer hear well enough, or process language well enough, or spare the physical control needed to respond to it. This is also why the popular idea of dry drowning needs a careful footnote. In a small number of drowning deaths, the laryngospasm reflex closes so completely and for so long that very little water ever actually enters the lungs, the person effectively asphyxiates against their own sealed airway. But medical researchers have pushed back hard against treating this as some separate, delayed phenomenon that strikes hours after a swim ends. The vast majority of drowning, wet or dry, unfolds within this same tight window. The danger was never in some invisible delayed mechanism. It was always in those same first, silent, easily missed minutes in the water. Which means the entire rescue opportunity, from someone who's fine to someone in genuine but treatable distress, to someone who cannot be saved by anything short of a physical pull from the water can collapse in under 2 minutes total. 2 minutes. That's the entire window, start to finish, in many real cases documented by researchers since Pia's original work. Not the dramatic 10-minute struggle of a disaster film. 2 minutes of quiet, easily misread motion sandwiched between two much longer stretches of ordinary-looking swimming. This is why professional lifeguards are trained to scan constantly, systematically, rather than simply glancing at a crowd and trusting that anything wrong would announce itself. Many are taught a structured scanning pattern, sweeping a zone every few seconds rather than fixing their eyes on whoever happens to be splashing loudest, because the loudest swimmer in the pool is almost always the safest one there. Splashing and shouting require breath and energy, exactly the resources a genuinely drowning person no longer has to spend. It's a strange inversion once you see it clearly. In open water, noise is often a sign of confidence, and silence is often the warning. They know the quiet version is the real one. They know that by the time a drowning person looks obviously distressed to an untrained eye, that person may already be seconds from submersion, not minutes. There's something worth sitting with here, beyond the water itself. Some of the most dangerous moments in life don't announce themselves with noise. They look, from the outside, almost exactly like everything being fine. A person going under doesn't always look like a person in crisis. Sometimes it looks like someone standing quietly, chin tilted up, saying nothing at all, precisely because the part of them that would ask for help is the part that's already run out of air. The same blind spot shows up far from any pool or ocean. People struggling with overwhelming stress, grief, or exhaustion often don't look like people in crisis either. They show up to work. They answer texts. They smile in the group photo. The loud, visible cry for help is often not the most dangerous moment. It's the quiet, composed one that slips past everyone precisely because it doesn't look like anything is wrong. The instinct to scan for obvious distress, tears, shouting, visible panic, can miss the exact people who most need someone to look twice. You will probably never witness a real drowning up close. Most people won't. But now, if you ever do, you'll know what to actually look for. Not the splash, not the shout, but the stillness. The vertical body. The silence where you expected noise. If someone is drowning near you right now, you'd probably notice this time.